Check, checking, testing, checking. Hi, guys. Hi, guys. I'm going to ask those of you who are here to our panel to have a seat. If you're wanting to chit-chat, if you guys would stand outside, it would be fantastic. Welcome. If you guys want to keep chatting, please step outside. Thank you so much. We're getting ready to start the panel. It's nice to see people here who are interested in film. This is awesome. I'm going to introduce myself in a moment. I just want, what do we say? Quiet on the fucking set. Thank you very much. I told you I would drop a fuck bomb. Anyway, again, please step outside the room if you're going to have a conversation. Appreciate it so much.
Julie.
Thank you. Awesome. What was that? You know, you don't know who I am, but my name is Jordan Bayne. I have done hundreds of panels, so I typically, and I'm a director, so there you go. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to NFC for having us. It's really exciting to be able to talk about what we've been doing in film. I'm going to take a few minutes and set the stage, first of all, just to let you know that there will be no fight or debate. We decided we're lovers, not fighters. But also, in that film 3 we're in such an early moment still, but we're actually not that early. You may think that this is the first time you've heard about it, but I started the film 3 movement 3.5 years ago. We've done 700 shows on Twitter. 700 in 3.5 years. I met Miguel Faus, who I'll let introduce himself in a moment, a year into my journey looking for writer, directors, anyone in the film industry, in the TV industry, who understood that Web3 could be a revolution for the film industry. And so over the past 3.5 years, we went from what I would consider a mission-based movement looking for a better future for filmmakers to actually building out a new business model, the Film 3 business model, from financing to marketing and distribution, all driven by the community. So if you think about what the Film 3 business model actually is, it is financing it through the community, which we all know what that's like because we're all here because we're part of Web3, and we know that community is the driver. Then you take those people that financed the feature film, for instance, that Miguel will tell you about, and they become your amplifiers, because if you engage them, and we've learned this from no one greater than Taylor Swift, if you engage community and people feel like that they belong, they are going to have so much skin in the game that they are your built-in amplifiers. They are your marketing, and then they become your distribution. They are your distribution because they are so fucking proud, and we are also fucking proud of Miguel and what he's done with Calladita, that we are here as the built-in audience for the distribution of that film. So in 3.5 years, especially in the last 2 years, since Miguel, a little over 2, since Miguel dropped his NFT strategy for the financing, incredible things have happened. And it may seem like we're working in stealth, but we're loud as fuck. I have a second season, the Film 3 OG on Spotify and Apple. We're out there talking about it. Distribution platforms are being built. Case studies are all over the place. So anyway, I wanted to set the stage a little bit about what we've been doing, building the Film 3 model, and then let us have a discussion about what's been done. So this is Miguel Faus, and then we'll get to Ben in a moment. And Miguel, take some time and introduce yourself.
All right. Thank you, Jordan. Thanks, everyone. My name is Miguel Faus. I'm a writer and director from Barcelona. A couple years ago, in March 2022, I had a couple short films that I had made that were moderately successful in festivals, etc. And I had a dream that I wanted to make my first feature film. And it wasn't proving possible through the traditional methods that films get financed and made. And so I had landed in Web3 a few months ago, a couple of years, no, like 1 year ago, I guess, in early 21, and I was collecting NFTs. I was connecting with the Web3 crowd, and I was very engaged in the digital revolution. And I thought maybe my dream can come true through NFTs, and that's what happened. Essentially, I dropped a collection of NFTs that were still frames of my short film that I wanted to turn into a feature, and through a lot of hard work and thanks to a lot of passionate DJs that shared my vision, was able to make the film. We had over 600 collectors and raised over $700,000 to make really the first released movie in the world that is funded through NFTs or an NFT collection. The film is called Calladita, and it's out in Spanish cinemas now. So, you know, if what I'm saying really sparks your fire, then you can grab a car and in 2 hours you can be in a cinema where you can watch the movie. Otherwise, you can wait a little bit and hopefully it will hit a screen near you sooner rather than later. The film, so Calladita, premiered in November at Tallinn Black Nights Film Festival, which is one of 12 A-class festivals in the world, and since then has been traveling the world around film festivals, and yeah, just 10 days ago started its theatrical run in Spain, and is gonna continue to be distributed and will eventually get to screens near you for the kinds, you know, in the kinds of platforms that you all know and we don't love. Oh yeah, and also through this journey, also another cool thing that happened is that we got an award from Steven Soderbergh. That is another thing that my friend Ben and I have in common. He can talk a bit more about that, but yeah, Steven Soderbergh, who is a legendary American director, awarded Calladita $100,000 in post-production funds, which was basically the only other piece of funding that we had. So the rest is all coming from NFTs. And I believe in decentralized cinema. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Ben, we'll get to you in just a second, because I want to just sort of fill in some blanks that I know around what Miguel did, which is incredible. The thing that watching and being a part of this with Miguel was that he's an unknown filmmaker from Barcelona, right? So when you think that you want to make your film, but you're not in LA, you're not in New York, you're not in the major film hubs, at least for the United States, you can do it. You know, he realized and he unlocked a way of involving community and getting his first film made. Julie Pacino, a very good friend of ours, also did it, and she's considered the first person to fund her film with an NFT strategy. She did it a little bit differently. She went out and did pre-production stills, and she sold about 2,000 of those, and she raised about 800,000, and then MoonPay bought a clip of hers for 100,000, and so while her film was the first feature film funded by NFTs, Miguel's the second one. Miguel's the first one released out in the world as an amazing case study, and one that we really need. We need these films out in the world. We need people to understand what we're doing. Julie's film is coming out, I believe, in October, and she's in post on that. And then there are a couple other things that I'll talk about. You know, at 700 shows from the squad, we've talked to a lot of filmmakers. A lot of people are out there trying to make things happen. with and about their communities. Now, one of the things I think is really super cool, there's two things about Ben, who I met at Cannes, I believe last year or the year before, I can't even remember. Okay, yeah. It's late. It's Web3 time. It's 5,000 years ago. But Ben has a really impressive career in traditional indie American cinema, and has a lot of success making films happen. What's cool as fuck to me is while you didn't finance Cold Wallet with an NFT strategy, you still went to Decentralized Pictures. And Decentralized Pictures, by the way, is a 501c3. It's a not-for-profit, and they provide grants for filmmakers. You go in, and there's a decentralized voting system. And this is how Miguel won the first Andrews Bernard Award. And then Ben came in with Cold Wallet and put that up into the Film 3 ecosystem and won the second one. So I'd love for you to tell these guys a little bit more about yourself and how you told me the other day that really the ethos of Vanishing Angle precedes, is the same as Film 3, but precedes Film 3 in the traditional world by at least 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, thanks for being here, y'all. So we were coming out of kind of nowhere. This is like 2010, 2011. We were just a bunch of like kids in the South making things for a couple $1,000s that started getting into South by Southwest, winning the animation award there. $2,000, $3,000 features playing all over the world. And so we kind of broke into traditional filmmaking and, through the gatekeepers, but then we had this spirit of like, well, there's nobody who's here helping us. And so it was connecting very early to the audiences. So we had like these early Kickstarters in 2010 that became really our funding group. And so it was people who had given us $25 in 2010. As their careers develop, as our careers develop, we would take them from film to film to film. And so that's like how Vanishing Angle has gone through and made 28 features at this point, is because we've been meeting our audience in person all over the world, all over the US. And so then we were taking that, and once it became legal to do like crowd equity campaigns, we were doing those, and we were getting in money from like 40 different states, 35, 40 different countries. And so we funded 7 features off of a crowd equity model, which has a lot to do with kind of what Miguel was doing with Calladita. Miguel was also part of our short to feature lab that I run with Jim Cummings. We've just had our 5th, and that's like 10 filmmakers from around the world that we fly in, we sleep in tents in the backyard, and we just look at what the obstacles and the assets of every film are, because every film has a different path to getting made. And that's one of the important things about all of this. It's like Film 3 and the opportunities here, like they're so much more advantageous than what we had when we were starting, because there's so many more people who are actually invested in this. And so it's figuring out where your leverage points are. So with Cold Wallet, we financed it traditionally through a single equity investor, but with the story of what we're pulling off now, which is really going to be, the release is going to be very Web3 friendly. We're going to be doing NFT drops. We're going to be doing metaverse screenings. We're going to be doing all of these things. And that was a story that we could tell our investors. So even though it was a traditional one-off investor, it was somebody who was coming in, first-time film investor, and we were able to tell him, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's why we're doing it in this way. It's a fun fucking crypto heist movie. It's home invasion gone wrong. This is something that's going to work in all of these different places. So it belongs at South by Southwest. It belongs at big festivals. But it also is something that we can port very naturally into an online environment, because that's the online environment that inspires the humor of it, inspired the storytelling of it, and all of those things. So I think when we're looking at Web3 and Film 3, it's not about like it's not following exactly what Miguel did. It's learning from Miguel that your path is ahead of you, and that path is made by walking, and there's no way you're going to get to the other side and get to your first feature or your second feature or wherever you want to be without taking a hell of a lot of steps to get there.
I love this story so much, and what you just said is a great segue. Miguel really was trailblazing and has been trailblazing for us, right? But there's Julie doing things. There's a guy named David Bianchi, you may know, doing Razor, which he's been doing with Gala Film, that's released little 8-minute segments, chapters. There's a group called the Coders Room. It's a bunch of people that wanted to be writers, and they came to Film 3 for that. They found each other in the squad, and they started a writer's room. And literally one of those filmmakers, now filmmaker, who before was not, has a short film on the festival circuit because he got the support he needed from his community, and the community got behind it. So, we're out here preaching Film 3, especially to those of you who think, I've hit so many gatekeepers, there are so many walls, but those walls, we're finding avenues. We've built a new business model together. And it's still, the distribution part is in many ways, untested, but in some ways it's not. So I wanted to say a couple things and then bring it back to Miguel. Because we did, in March, we did a screening in CryptoVoxels. Do you remember? In March of 2022, which was so much fun, and I'm so sorry for the state of CryptoVoxels. But we had such a good time because we did the screening of his film. We're all in there in our little avatars and our little robots jumping around. And we also got to do, because I had built a gallery, we got to hang the artwork from your NFT strategy. You had a bunch of artists who donated their work so that it could be sold, again, to help fund your project. So with Kayadita has innovated in a lot of ways. We tried this, we tried that, you tried popcorn. You've done a lot of different things. If a filmmaker, because with you specifically, I want to talk about the financing. If a filmmaker was coming now to try to do what you achieved, and I'm not trying to make a debate, but if they were, the ecosystem's quite a bit different. What would you say to them?
Yeah, so I dropped my NFT collection to fund the movie in March 2022, so over 2 years ago, and definitely the space has changed a lot. Even in the I think 4 or 6 months when I was building the project before launching it in 2022, the space was already in those 4 months moving so quickly that we had to adjust as we were building it. Like, for example, setting the price for the NFTs was so hard because ETH is fluctuating, so it was always moving. I knew how much I needed to make the film, but that was a different number of ETH every day, So, and I had to take a risk because I knew it would take some time. It wouldn't be like a one-day sellout. So there are many lessons that are learned that can pass through, but there are other things that wouldn't work right now. I think one of the most important things is that I was very much an insider in the world of NFTs before launching the project. I have a lot of filmmakers that reach out to me from around the world saying they want to do something similar, and can I advise them? And always the first question I ask them is, can you show me your NFT collection? And 90% of them reply, oh, I don't have any NFTs. And then that they've lost my interest there, because it's like, if you don't personally believe in this revolution and you don't want to be an active participant, then it seems like you just want to extract value, and that's fine. You want to make your film. It's just, I don't think that that's the best way to get into the space, because people are going to see through you, It's like, and most people from the space that wanted to support my film and get it funded, it was because they felt like I was one of them, and I was speaking their language, and I was here to to build, as a community together. So that was very important.
But these are the people who like want to make short films, and if you ask them their favorite short film, they don't have one. Like they don't understand that there's things that are art and there's importance and there's community, and it's not just stepping stones. And so of course that's their approach, because all they see is what's ahead of them, and they're not actually paying attention to the steps that they're taking.
Ben, this is, and Miguel knows this because we've done a ton of spaces together and talked about this, but I am a big person that if someone comes in, and I'm a little bit of a protector of the realm. If someone comes into Film 3 and I can smell that they just want to extract, I will tell them to get the fuck out, and no uncertain terms. They will be on my shit list so fast, because I really believe that Web3, that we have the potential to be so different. The ethos is additive. What value can you bring? And I think that that's what you have to think about. And, Miguel led with that, right? What value is he bringing? He innovated in so many ways to try to offer value to people, to his community. And when I look around at a lot of the people in Web3 in a larger context, the people that I admire the most are the ones that are constantly thinking, how can I surprise and delight my community? How can I give them some sort of fun thing that they know that I actually see them, that they belong, I value them, I want to bring them value, and I'm asking them those questions. And that's the difference between like Kickstarter and this turbocharged crowdfunding. That's what I call it, turbocharged, because you can no longer think about this as a one-off. If you really want to build a career, then again, I will tell you what Tyler Perry did. Tyler Perry said, I don't need VC money. I know the power of the black dollar. And I know that the black dollar wants to see their culture presented and represented on screen from their culture and their voices, and not from someone outside of their culture telling a story. And he built $1 billion empire with and for his community. So when I look at you, knowing you've got 28 feature films behind you, and now you've bridged over, and you already carry this ethos with you, and you've bridged over. What is the future for you in the way you look at this? Because again, it's unique. It's like, how are you coming in? What value are you bringing for your filmmakers and in the communities that you're trying to build?
Yeah, I think that's what's so exciting, is like really trying to figure out who those potential partners are to solve different problems that we have in the old school film industry. Like it's a world that I'm adjacent to, that I have access to, but it's never been a world that we've relied on. So it's looking at the problems that industry has created and trying to help solve those problems. So there's things that I've been like trying to figure out for years. Like, so okay, we have this short to feature lab. It's something that has proven success with people like Miguel who have come out of it. We have 11 finished features from that lab. And then it's looking at, okay, what is the next chokehold? Like, where does it bottleneck for these careers? And it's people who premiere at these their first films at even A-list film festivals. You're losing 70 to 80% of those people don't make a second feature within a decade, right? And so that's like for everybody, let alone if you're not a white guy like I am, it's going to be worse off than that, right? So how do you take these kind of online places that can be really supportive, and the amount of impact, not having to have like the full weight of 750,000 euros or whatever it is to support that career, but what if that could be a 50,000 euro development fund for their next feature? That's something that you can take this leverage, right? You can take this online community, you can do kind of like a Web3 Patreon model and do things that are specific for this creator that involve the audience in a way that's really impactfully in this pivotal moment. I mean, imagine like Miguel's going to be back in Portugal in a couple of weeks for a film festival, if he can be doing Q&As from there for this Web3 audience that can follow the journey of this first feature, that's the type of thing that could be so freeing. Because like Cold Wallet, that's from my buddy Cutter Hodiern. I met him when he had won Sundance with his short in 2012, Fishing Without Nets, that becomes a Sundance winning feature in 2014. And it still took his ass a decade as a white guy with 2 Sundance awards to make his second feature. And it was really figuring out, okay, what are these alternative paths?
I gotta jump in
Yeah.
just for a second, because this is really prescient. Film 3 came out of my pain as a filmmaker. I literally had an Oscar-winning actor in a short film that was an Oscar contender itself, and I couldn't get a feature film made. Everyone said, that's your calling card. That's your calling card. If you are not of a particular demographic, it's going to be 1,000 times harder for you. Not just me because I'm a woman, not because I'm queer, but because we have a systemic issue. And so that's why I told you about Tyler Perry and the importance of that. It's why it's so important that if you are a filmmaker that wants to take a particular story, and by the way, I'm going to talk a little bit again about Calladita. What a beautiful story. How fortunate we are to have such a fine filmmaker have the first Film 3 NFT funded film out on the film circuit getting incredible reviews. We could, there was a good chance that we wouldn't have been so fucking lucky. But not only that, but he tells a really poignant and very insightful story about a Colombian maid, right? And so it's a story that needs to be told, and he tells it from a very self-deprecating point of view.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say great reviews because it has kind of mixed reviews, but the bad ones are all from people who hate crypto. Crypto and NFTs found their way into the movie just because I funded it this way, and I'm the right director, so I was so immersed in the world of crypto and NFTs that naturally I added a lot of crypto art into the movie, and also sort of a subplot that revolves around crypto. I don't want to spoil or anything, but yeah, like a lot of reviews online are, well, some of them are hating on the film because they hate crypto. I guess, what can you do? Prejudice. What I see sometimes, the
but
film
that's
is...
not the value of the film, and they see where you get the great reviews, and that's really my point, is that you're a terrific filmmaker, and I just think that we're very fortunate that you're out there repping us. Because it could have been shitty. There's some shitty stuff out there, by the way, in Film 3. I'm not gonna lie.
It would be a bad end to the story that it was funded in this innovative way, and it was so cool how we made it, but then the film sucks.
Yeah. And it doesn't.
It would be an anticlimax.
It would. So I want to. We have about 15 minutes left. So, and a lot of you guys just came in, and so I want to just do a quick recap on what we've been discussing to sort of catch you up on what we've been doing for the last 3.5 years. And then from there, I want to open up the floor for some questions. So if you just walked in, you've walked into Film 3. And Film 3 has not been building in stealth. But we are very nascent. We are a small community compared to the rest of Web3. But it came out of pain points of not being able to find financing for our films. And by the way, the first film I made in Web3, to prove the case study that this could be revolutionary for filmmakers, is a film, a motion picture that I put on Zora called Red Flags, that Claire Silver picked up within 24 hours and has vaulted it and also allowed me to show it around the world. So that's actually pretty cool from a short film point of view. It's also a one-of-one piece of fine art. So that's another thing to think about, what is Film 3. The other thing that I didn't tell you about, because we talked about the financing and we've talked about the community being the driver, and again, I'm going to tell you there is no Film 3 without community. Community is everything. So take care of your community. And they're not always going to be your best friend. I'll tell you that too. Um, that comes from life experience. But the other really cool thing, besides the distribution that's being built, now there are distribution platforms that are being built out right now. You have Bingeable. Bingeable is an affiliate model. Stephen Murray is a big part of these, of building up the business model from financing to distribution and what that is and articulating it. And then you have Decentralized Pictures. We announced that they are doing a streaming platform, DCP Plus, that's coming out this summer. That's an opt-in. So that's a really cool opportunity for filmmakers. There's Babel DAO. So their DAO chooses which films will be on their platform. So in other words, it's being built as we're here. I also see a lot of people coming in with a lot of VC money that don't have the ethos, but they got the money. And so we'll see how they end up and what we think about their fuckery. But I hope that they actually support creators, because if they don't have the ethos, then they should stay in Web 2. But I'm not shy about giving my 2 cents about this. So the last thing I want to tell you before we come and open up to you guys is one other really cool thing that we've done is that a year ago, I partnered with Theta Network, and founded the Medican Film 3 Festival. And we ran it last year for 10 days. It's an online festival. It's the only on-chain, on-demand virtual film festival in the world, and we just finished the second year. Last year, we had an AI film block that I curated with incredible people like Julie Viland. You probably know her as Julie W Design. Incredible, using Let's AI, Runway, Pika, all sorts of stuff. And this year we had Dustin Hollywood, we had Chakai if you know Chakai, he had a world premiere for his first AI film. So a lot is happening in Film 3. And we'd love it if you guys are interested, that you connect with any of us. But I'd love to open it up for you guys on the floor if you have any questions for us. And if you don't, I'll just go get a drink.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so my NFT collection, so my film Calladita is based on a short film that I made in 2019 that I wanted to adapt into a feature film. And the short film had been successful, but it was proving very hard to finance the feature film traditionally. So the collection was still frames of the short film. So I spliced the short film into still frames, and then it was structured similarly to a crowdfunding campaign in the sense that there were different tiers at which backers could support, and then there were different rewards depending on what tier they selected. Like the top tiers gave associate producer credit or exec producer credit, and backers were invited on set to experience filming firsthand and things like that. And yeah, mostly it was the NFT community that supported the film. I mostly targeted people who were already in the community, not really like film people to sell them their first NFT, because I figured that was very hard at that time. And like, for example, we have over 250 CryptoPunk holders that supported Calladita. And so all the punks that supported Calladita are in the initial, it's the first image you see is like a mosaic of all the punks. And yeah, that was it.
And also experimenting with working with different artists for small collections, all of that.
Yeah.
But I think what's really important about what sold it, as well as the NFTs themselves, is what he's saying about access. And access is when we're doing crowd equity stuff, when we're doing all sorts of fundraising, any way we can, we're telling them about how fun the red carpets are in France, how fun this is. Oh, you've got to come to set. Oh, you have a daughter who's in college who's studying film? Bring her out. That type of thing. Talking about the return on experience with potential investors, even if it's in these NFT ways, anything like that. People want to be in real life experiences. And if you're showing your success as a physical thing that they can be a part of, that's always going to be a conversion experience.
I explained like the still frames because that was like the main thing, but yeah, we tried many different things, and I think that's also a very important learning curve. It's like test and repeat, like keep trying things and keep learning from them and adjusting, because you never know exactly what people are gonna connect with the most. For me, for example, one of the main learning things was that people love to collect the NFTs from the creator themselves. Like if I had been a producer making this whole crowdfund model for a director who is in the shadows creating, I think that would have been a lot tougher, because people loved to engage with me because they knew that I was the artist behind the film. And so they're supporting me directly, not through like a company or anything like that.
And everybody hates producers.
It's
Any
true.
other questions?
For the guy in the blue, and then you, and then the lady in the blue hair. Sorry, say that again. I'm deaf.
Advice on having a strong community.
Oh God, what a fantastic question.
Do everybody favors. That's a huge part of it, and like you will develop a reputation where it's embarrassing for people not to support you. At South by Southwest this year, there were probably 15 to 20 films that I had done like a series of favors for, and that's super important. And like not asking anything from those people, not looking for anything, but like when they're sitting there and they're talking, my name's in their mouth. And it's always in a positive way, because it would be embarrassing for somebody in public to say something negative about me because I've just done helpful things. And so it's finding your community in Paris, finding this person, that person, supporting them on their way up, supporting everybody, and then you just have the community naturally. You don't have to build the community separately if you're doing the work of being spiritually generous at every opportunity.
I love that. Spiritually generous, and that's what I mean by additive instead of extractive. The other thing I would really add is consistency. You just have to keep showing up. You show up for your community. You don't abandon them. You don't rug them, because you want to build for the long term, for the long game, right? And it's so much more fun to build with your friends. I mean, honestly, about 6 weeks after the term was coined, Film 3, Miguel and I were on at Cannes on 3 different panels, and people literally, someone asked us to be on a Film 3 panel, and I was like, do you know where that term started? Do you know where that came from? But it's because we show up consistently, and we show up to talk about it, and we're not just here. Miguel doesn't just come and shill his film. He comes to share, and I think that's the difference. We're trying to share with you an experience and say, and you too can have this experience. We'd love to go on this experience with you. And I personally would love to see the industry change. And the great thing about Cannes this past week, or whenever we were there, was I'm starting to get the ear of traditional filmmakers, and people who built Sundance, who built the American indie scene, are starting to really pay attention. And I think that's really important. So consistency.
Yeah, and keep them engaged, and let them know what you're doing. Build openly and publicly. I think that was very important. Like Calladita has around 600 collectors and 1,300 NFTs, and I think there's only like 3 or 4 of them that are for sale. And in a way, most people don't consider it probably a very valuable NFT in their portfolio in the monetary sense, because I don't know how many people are on the other side trying to buy them. Probably at this point not many right now, but at the same time, what I find is a lot of our community are so proud of having supported this film. Whenever they see it premiered at a festival, some people have flown from their place to the festival to get to watch it on the big screen, and you know, they feel like in the madness of 2022, we all bought so many NFTs, and this one that I bought, there's a movie that was made from it, and that's super cool.
I'm going to jump
just,
in.
you know, and also the fact that we never made crazy promises. I promised what I knew I could do, and I kept doing it and kept them informed every step of the process as I was doing it.
Sorry for jumping in so fast. We've been given a 2-minute, and I want to get to that gentleman there and to the lady with the blue hair.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm very grateful that you joined our community recently. Thank you. Well, part of what I was saying about not overpromising and promising things I know I can keep is not talking now about, you know, things that are too far into the future. Yeah. But I'll try. But I'll try to still answer your question. So part of what I promised from the beginning was the Calladita DAO, and we are starting to roll that out right now. And what that is that we promise that 50% of the profits that the film gets forever will be put into this community treasury that is governed by the DAO. So now, as the movie is being sold and being released and getting profits, then 50% of that is going to go into this pot, and holders of our NFTs get to vote on what we do with that, which hopefully will be continuing to advance the Film 3 movement and continuing to support filmmakers that want to work in that space. And for me personally, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to continue making films, and I also have that long-term view that you expressed, which I think is the right view. Like when I was building this, sometimes I would use examples like I don't know, like Pulp Fiction, which of course is crazy to think that I'm going to be the new Tarantino. You know that I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, you know, Calladita might be just the first film in a career that is going to be very long and maybe successful. And if 30 years ago you had supported Tarantino in a crowdfunding, but you just had an old T-shirt that is wrinkled and probably almost already, you know, decaying, to show for it, it would be, you know, tough, and maybe nobody's going to believe you. You know, you don't have receipts. But if you have an NFT to prove it, that is durable and that is immutable, then that might be a lot more valuable, you know.
Thank you. I know we have to get off stage. Is there a question that you need to ask?
Yeah, a short question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, thank you. It's really inspiring and beautiful for filmmakers. Yeah, and question is, like you mentioned that your film right now is screened in Spain, yeah? So I would like to know how long it's going to screen, and are you planning to have, for example, like from Web3 to go to cinema, the connection?
You're asking if there's a hybrid distribution situation? Go ahead,
yeah.
and then we got to go.
Yeah, so I'll be quick. Yeah, so yeah, it opened theatrically in about 40 cinemas in Spain 10 days ago, and it's gonna continue to be in cinemas for as long as they are full. You know, we'll see. Hopefully a few more weeks, but we'll see. And then all of our holders are gonna be able to watch it before anyone else can watch it at home, and that's gonna happen this summer. And then from there, yeah, it's gonna be on some streaming platforms that I can't say too much about, but some of them will be Web3 native.
Thank you guys so much, and thank you very much for coming. I know that all of us are completely willing to talk endlessly about this, so don't hesitate. And
We're going to
thank you
go
very much.
downstairs to the lobby so we're respectful to the
Yeah,
next
yeah, yeah,
panel.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, NFC.